Alright, you want to present, but you don't want to just deliver a presentation, you want to put on an entire show. You want the hands and the arms of your attendees to be stood up straight. You want goosebumps on their thighs. A sales presentation so good that sends shivers down their spines. Engaging, memorable, mesmerizing presentation, demo, or pitch can give you the edge to win in sales. It's probably not the only factor, but it is a factor for sure. It makes sense. If someone remembers your presentation more than they remember that of your competitors or the million other things they're dealing with, then it's going to give you more chance of winning that sale, closing that deal, transacting that prestige. But business presentations, pitches, demos aren't inherently interesting. They're to do with work, the job of your attendees. So without excellent presentation skills, it is easy to lose the attention of your attendees, get them distracted, see them looking at their emails or thinking about what they're going to have for lunch, rather than paying attention to you and thinking about what their life could be and how much better it could be and how much less bad it could be if they just bought your product. So how can you nail your sales presentations harder than a nail gun? How can you nail them harder than John Henry when he was hammering in those railroad spikes, defending the people's jobs from the machines? Without all the cuts, visual effects, sound effects, dramatic music that a real production has. Instead, entirely making the most of what God gave you. It's showtime. Technique number one, storytelling. A great story, a moving story, can captivate audiences even when the subject of that story doesn't seem all that interesting. Let's look at a couple of Hollywood examples. First of all, Transformers: Age of Extinction. They've got explosions, they've got crazy soundtracks, they've got Mark Wahlberg, they've got Optimus Prime, they've got freaking Dinobots. And yet, got reviews. Whack whack. Meanwhile, look at a film like Good Will Hunting. It literally moved audience because they got so attached to the story, the characters involved, and as such, the reviews were great. Even though the film was about math. Math! The most boring thing on the planet for most people. Even though it came out in 1997, people still remember it very fondly. Most people know about that movie, even those who weren't born when it came out. Meanwhile, Transformers: Age of Extinction, which came out in 2014, this is the first time you've probably heard it mentioned in a few years. It was a flop, it was a speck, it was nothing. It was the same as all the other action movies and all the other Transformers movies. So by telling a good story, you can have that effect on your attendees. You can have them remembering your presentation, your product, your service, your solution, your offering more than, let's say, your competitor. Now, a good story, it's got these three critical things. Number one, it's got a goal, a clear purpose to the story. It's not pointless. Number two, it's got a main character, someone for the audience to hook themselves onto, to relate to. In your sales presentations, you've got to make sure this character is someone like your prospect, not yourself. You cannot be the main character. And number three, it's going to be anchored in our core emotions. If you've ever seen the Disney Pixar film Inside Out, you will know these emotions are anger, disgust, fear, sadness, and of course, ideally at the end of your presentation or story, happiness. The second technique, metaphors and analogies. See what I did in that previous technique? I spoke about a concept you're familiar with, Hollywood movies, and I made it related to a topic that you're less familiar with or might find boring, sales presentation techniques. You can do the exact same thing in your sales presentation pitches and demos. Make something that seems boring, mundane, or maybe it's something that's quite complex or hard to understand, and use something that the audience is familiar with to get their head around that topic or make it more interesting. It's kind of like how Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates. See? I did it again. I think that was it. At least a simile. Technique number three, the performance. The best songs, the best movies, the best sports plays of all time, of all history, weren't just good songwriting, script writing, and plays from the coach. They were all carried home by great performances from singers, actors, and athletes. So the exact same way you, the sales rep, the salesperson, the business owner, you have to put a performance when you're delivering these presentations. Have fun with it, give it some personality, show enthusiasm for what it is you're selling. And you might just make the person who's watching feel enthusiastic as well. Make use of animated body language to hammer home your points. Make use of a variety of tones and paces to keep your audience engaged. Give them something new every single sentence, every single stage, every single chapter. Nothing will put people to sleep as much as monotone delivery. So look in certain tonality concepts that you can use. But the really cool parts of your product that not many people do, the things that people don't think about often, you do a light whisper, kind of like the one I'm doing right now. Like you're letting the prospect in on a secret. The really impactful parts of your offering, you can raise your voice, you can speed up a little bit, let them know that what you're showing them is big news. It's huge. Technique number 4, involve the audience. The best presentations, they feel like a two-way street. They're more of a conversation than just a lecture. You've got to try and make your audience, or at least someone in the audience, more than a spectator. You know how magicians like to bring someone from the audience up onto the stage, or comedians often pick on someone in the crowd? It's engaging the audience. It's making the audience feel like they are part of this big story, this big event. Best ways to do this? Ask questions along the way. Use their company, their customers, their language, their employees as examples while you're delivering the presentation so they can actually envision what it's going to be like to use your product, offering, software, solution, whatever it may be. And technique number 5, probably the most important one, practice. Insert the clip of the guy saying it's all about practice, y'all. The best keynotes, the best theater, the best live performances. You think they just walked up on stage and nailed it the first time? No, they spent weeks memorizing every single moment of that presentation. So they knew that when they got up on the stage for the big moment, they would own it. You want to do the same thing with your demo. You don't want to be fumbling around trying to figure out where you're going to click next or being surprised by the next slide in your deck. You've got to know it off by heart. And by doing so, that will allow you to focus more on the audience, focus on your tone delivery, because you'll be running the presentation rather than the presentation running you. You'll be able to ask more insightful questions, make more eye contact, whether that be camera if you're doing a virtual presentation, or different people in the room if you're doing an in-person presentation. It's got to be seamless. And the only way to get it to that point is by practicing a lot. Practicing on your own, practicing with your colleagues, practicing with your manager, recording it, watching it back, tweaking it, making sure that every single part of it seems almost picture perfect. Of course, the camera ran out of memory right before I finished. Classic. Now, if you do work in the SaaS or software industry and you want to deliver great demos, then be sure to watch this video right here. And if you're not already, be sure to click this button right here to subscribe to Sales Speed on YouTube. See you next time.